Okay, in this screencast, I'm going to show you how to use this website called the National Geographic Mapmaker. Our purpose is to look for geographic features to help us determine what type of plate boundary we might be looking at for the location that you've been assigned for this project. So one thing to notice about this particular tool is that there are different, if you go down to the bottom here, there are different layers that you can add. So the first thing we might want to do is just add layer. And we can actually identify where the plate boundaries are by clicking here. And if I X out of this window, you can see that all the plate boundaries are listed. So I'm going to go through this exercise looking at the coast of Chile here in South America to determine what kind of a plate boundary it is. So first thing I'm going to do is zoom in a little bit. You can see this plate boundary right here. I'll look near the capital city of Santiago. One thing I'm going to look for are volcanoes, because volcanoes could be an indicator of different types of plate boundaries. So one of the options are volcanic eruptions significant. Now this is not at all a list of all the volcanoes. It's just the significant ones in recent times. There's another tool that we can look at produced by NASA that'll give us a more comprehensive look at volcanoes. So if you want more information, we can do that. If we click on the legend, it'll tell us what the different colors mean. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to identify earthquakes. So let's look for earthquakes, and it gives us just the earthquakes in the last 30 days. Again, if we need a more comprehensive list of earthquakes, we can get that. And again, if I click on legend, it will show us the magnitude of the earthquakes as well. One of the things that might be an indicator of a plate boundary, particularly for a subduction zone, might be looking for a trench. So one of the tools I can use is called an elevation profile, which will allow me to see things like trenches or mid-ocean ridges. So I'm going to click this measure tool and click elevation profile. And let's look down here on the coast of Chile. I'm going to click where I want it to start, click where I want it to end, double click there actually. And as I move across, we can see where it crosses the plate boundary. Notice we have this depression here. That might be actually a trench. In fact, you can see it's actually labeled here trench, but we can confirm that in fact it gets quite low there. So that might be the boundary between the oceanic crust and the continental crust, indicating a possible subduction zone. I could do the same thing if I was interested in the mid-Atlantic region here. I can zoom in a bit here. And let's look for an elevation profile maybe across here. So I click measure, elevation profile, and double click. And as I move across, notice when I get right to the plate boundary, notice I've got this valley right here. And and this sort of, more or less symmetrical mountains on either side of the valley. That's classic of a mid-ocean ridge, and in fact it's labeled here as Mid-Atlantic Ridge. But this provides some evidence. If we think back to the work of Marie Tharp and her maps, this provides evidence of that mid-ocean ridge and that valley in the middle where the plates are separating from each other. There's lots of other tools we can look at. We can also change the base map. If I'd like to look a little more closely at just the oceans, or we can look, if we're looking at some information on land, we can look at this topographic map that might be a little bit easier to see things like mountains. The original map was this National Geographic map, which just has a lot of things labeled, which might get in the way. We also have this imagery one, which is looking at satellite images. We can really see the contours of the Earth there. So lots of different options to help you gain some evidence that will help you decide which type of plate boundary your location has.